We're we're going live.
Okay, good. My wheeling and dealing was alive.
Okay, I have got to mute that because I was hearing myself multiple times. That's annoying. Hello, everyone who is around. What we're doing here is I'm sitting down here with Noah and Gus, the two previous winners and unfortunately you can't see them, but they're here. Um, hopefully, can we just let's see? Yes, actually, I did hear Noah through the stream there, so I think they can hear that. Uh, Technical messing about with stuff as we're doing this. Um, but anyway, so we're sitting here. The Noah and Gus are the two previous winners of the two previous incarnations of Rocky Mountain Open, and so I thought we'd sit down and see about just kind of take a look at the list. We're not going to share anything about the specific lists. Those don't reveal to the public until the morning of. But we can take a look at some stats, take a look at some general thoughts, figures, surprises, and some vibes. Yeah. So, um, let's see.
Hello, hello.
Well, hey,
Everybody.
guys. All right.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
thank you
let's
for
just
hosting.
make sure that the sound is working real quick. So, all right. Okay, good. You guys are coming on. So, the first the thing I wanted to bring up was that in both previous years, you guys won with force users as a major centerpiece. Noah, you did Kenobi, and then Gus, you're kind of you did the regular Vader player around here,
Oh yeah, don't leave home without him.
right?
So
Yeah.
if I was there, he was too.
So the
Let's
question
like everything
becomes,
thick and thin, man.
yeah. So the question becomes, we've got a fairly big overhaul of the rules, and what do you guys think that's doing to the chances of Force users taking RMO for the third time in a row?
So I can start, and I expect I'll be a little bit more on the negative's a strong word, but I'll probably be more on the negative side, and I imagine Gus will be more on the positive side. I think the biggest change in 2.6 to force users that really hurt them a lot is the change to withdrawals. Basically, being able to withdraw and then move again was kind of huge. It kind of reduces their ability to play the field. That said, they make up less of an army composition because it's 1,000 points. And I know from the stats that we have a ton of force users out there. So I'd say the odds are still pretty good overall, even but just because of the numbers that are out there. I think that they're overall weaker, but there's so many lists that are out there doing it. Um, I think the biggest change is I think a non-force user list probably has a better chance than the other 2 years of RMO to take it simply because the gap between what a really skilled player can do with force user list and a really skilled player can do with a non-force user list has closed pretty significantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Noah's basically hit it on the head that in regards to the skill gap, where I think force users in general, people are feeling like I'm feeling this maybe too. I play a lot of Darth Vader, so I'm feeling maybe like he's having less influence in terms of dramatic game state shift, where like previously in the old edition, force users were, they'd come in and they'd have maybe 2 turns to really do their thing, play their strong command cards, have an influence on the game, and then by then it's basically over because you spent 4 turns getting there or 3 turns getting there, whatever it is. I think force users now are having less influence, but more often, right, where they're getting engaged, they're getting onto POIs, they're carrying secondaries, things like that, that are beginning to influence the game from earlier states. And so I think we're sort of equilibrating. We're going to reach this equilibrium state of, where force users uh, kind of find a place in a lot of lists. Like Noah said, I'm definitely on the positive side of the force user thing. Um, and I think it's good. I think force users are gonna be strong. They're gonna have a strong showing. I'm hoping to do well with Vader. Spoiler alert: I'm playing
Mm.
Vader. So, but I think in general, in an edition where points are king and force users are still the masters of objective play, I think they definitely have a place.
All right.
You guys, I think you hit the nail on the head there with I think a lot of things like the whole 2.6, I think you describe as the ceiling is lower, but the floor is higher. I think you just described that with force users as well, is that's how a lot of things feel right now.
All right. Yeah. Well. Interesting. Like you said, we do have we don't have a huge list of force users, but we do have several people bringing. Let's see. I think I can show you that we're looking at. We could look like we got three Asajj Ventresses coming in. We've got
Really,
three
that's
Count Dooku's. Three. So it's interesting that there's not a lot of different force users, but each one of them is well represented.
really I'm mostly surprised
Yeah.
by Asajj, but I mean, I guess she's kind of been returning to prominence locally. I know Noah actually played a little Asajj last week, so some interesting things
Hmm.
happening.
Hmm.
She's still a missile
Yeah.
into wherever you want to send her. Um, the main issue with her these days is order control. It's a little harder. It's a little harder to design, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds on a particular unit, but one, it's harder to design your separatist list to do order control with the way you have to split in 2.6. But there's also less after the AI changes. There's a lot less motivation to design it that way. But if you can get her, perfect order control situation like in the old days, she's still kind of incredible, especially if you got another force user or something with impervious across the
Hmm.
table.
Yeah. I love her design for being so she's supposed to be an assassin, a Sith assassin, and she plays that way on the table. She goes in, she kills something, and then if she survives after that, well, that's a good question. But she's very much that assassin, which makes her, I think, a lot of fun to play. I've found her pretty hard to be competitive, but I'm looking at gonna be interested to see what people can do with her this weekend.
I'll be intrigued to see how many of the Asajj lists pair her with Dooku or like another sport piece, but Dooku specifically because
Hmm.
I feel like Asajj and Dooku have like a little bit of a Han and Chewie thing going where, right, you can bring one without the other, but you're not necessarily getting the whole picture. So I think part of unlocking Asajj is unlocking Dooku. So I know
Yeah.
Steven's done a lot of work to do that recently. Shout out
Yeah.
to Space Viking. But I'd be really interested
Yeah.
to see how she does with force users that are not Dooku as well.
Oh yeah. Well, Steven loved to play Dooku back in the day. Haven't seen him play Dooku in a while though.
Yeah,
Um,
have we seen Steven play in a while?
That's true. And again, he's running everything this weekend, so we won't not really seeing him play this weekend either. Um,
He's the best he's ever been, though. To everybody's point, I think that he's. I mean, Anakin's probably the Republic Force users notwithstanding. I think Dooku and
mhm.
Vader are kind of on top of things right now.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think
Well,
Vader's always in vogue. What that's right. He's just always going to be good.
well, Gus, so you're gonna make him good no matter what the stats say. Yeah.
That's true.
Well, interestingly, we also do have some General Grievous showing up, though not a Force user, but Force user adjacent. Um,
Yeah, Grievous is good. I think that he is cheap enough to be viable. Right now, I think that obviously the panic changes happened a while before 2.6, so they that change where he's not running away from stuff quite as often. But I think also I ran a Tacticon, and for a while there was running him with B2s, and his if used if you build your list around it, his new two pip, the new I believe it's the Supreme Commander one, is so good at mobilizing things, like getting free moves off of Ruthless with 2 wound model core units is absolutely insane. So Grievous is good. He's real good for his points right now. He's just this beat stick that is, and getting Immune Pierce too was absolutely huge for him. Getting that upgrade, so he holds his own a lot easier with Force users, as he should. And I think that he is, I think he's 130 now. He's really good for just being something that's hard to deal with and bring some tricks to the table too.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not surprised they're putting some respect down on that Grievous name. You know, he was one of the first pieces that we unlocked around here. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people played B2 Grievous and really turned his reputation around locally. So I think we're seeing the ripple effect here, where people are starting to kind of jump on
Mm-hmm.
the Grievous train and say, hey, this guy's a
Yeah.
truck.
Yeah, I don't know what he's playing this weekend, but Myron has definitely made me
Yeah,
fear
yeah,
Grievous on more than one occasion.
yeah. If I am to Vader, Myron is to Grievous as I am to Vader, I'd say for sure.
Hmm.
100%.
Yeah, but the big surprise for me, the absence that I'm seeing as we're looking here, is I thought coming off of LVO that the Rebel players are just gonna come in with a big wave of sleeper cells, and that, to my surprise, is not what I'm seeing. They're just not showing up.
Yeah, I've
That might,
heard. You
yeah.
want to
Go
take it,
ahead,
Gus?
go ahead. No, you go first. Yeah.
I've heard. I think that there's some people that are one. I know there's a lot of people in the 5280 community, especially, that are kind of like wanting them to have um, order control and standby order control being necessary in sleepers, which is a decent point. I also think that there's a kind of, I don't want to say there's this idea of like, hey, we want to be anti-meta. One of the things I love about the 5280 community is it's not, you're usually going to see something that's a little bit counter meta. You see something that's like a group, like I believe, and I'm sure you'll talk about the list composition with factions later, but really healthy spread. So I
Hmm.
think that it's a combination, at least from my perspective, of some specific kind of viewpoints on how people want to play them, wanting to have order control, feeling like, hey, they can kind of be very to invert what I said earlier, kind of high ceiling and low floor units where if they go first, they're able to get shots off really well. They can really do damage, but if they don't go first, you don't pull them out of your bag. They can just kind of crumple. Between that and also just not wanting to go after, hey, the big, meta swings.
Hmm.
So just my 2 cents.
Yeah, sort of a, yeah, we know they're good. Let's see what else we can figure out is also good.
Yeah, that was exactly my point, right? I think we're all just, as 5280 as a whole, just kind of okay. We're not going to latch on to the best thing. We're going to find the
Hmm.
next thing. So,
I mean, if I was actually playing, I would totally bring sleepers because I don't know. I've cheered on my favorite rebels for a long time, and now it feels like, yeah, they're overpowered. I want to ride this wave for as long as it as long
I
until they fix the bit of overpowered sleepers.
there were some lists I decided not to play because I was
Hmm.
afraid of sleepers. So that's definitely a surprise to me.
Hmm.
I wanted to bring that double Inquisitor list I was playing with Vader, and
Oh
I just
man,
thought if I ran into sleepers, right, I'm just dead. Like I just die. So I opted not for that.
wild
Yeah.
list though. Love that list.
But yeah, like as you were saying, we've got a pretty good even spread of factions. So rebels and the separatists are tied at 8. We had another empire come in since this morning, so we're another empire and another so 7 empire, 6 republic, and then 5 shadow collective. So shadow collective still a little underrepresented as is kind of normal, but not nearly as wide a spread as we've seen in a lot of tournaments lately.
Sure.
So that,
Well, man,
yeah.
I'm one of the Shadow Collective. I believe is true anti-meta right now, and I decided to go down that path myself
Hmm.
for the weekend, or
Yeah.
at least Saturday.
But one thing I'm not surprised about is the top of the individual units is the rebel troopers are coming out. There are lots of rebel troopers coming out this weekend, and a lot of targeting scopes for those
That's
big
fun.
dice pools that we can create these days.
I'm excited for the Rebel Troopers, man. Like, let's see what they got. I don't know if they can carry a list. I think they're a fantastic support unit, especially in the big configuration.
Hmm.
We'll see. I want to be proven wrong, man. I love the cool Rebel lists that are coming out of the
Yeah,
woodwork because for a long
yeah.
time there weren't a lot of them. So
See, yeah, well, seeing a lot of Han, a lot of Leia, and a lot of big Rebel Trooper units. I at out the Outer Rim Shootout, which is smaller, smaller game size skirmish. It was still a fairly good sized tournament. There was I was having a lot of fun wielding the massive hammer that is a double stuff Rebel Trooper unit because I was just doing my list. There was uh, two double stuff Rebel Troopers and two sleeper cells, and everything was throwing 12 dice whenever it shot, and it was crazy. A lot of fun.
I'll say
Um,
I'm very excited for Outer Rim Shootout. Haven't been before. Need to make it happen, but now they're going up to 600 points for recon. Looking real tempting.
it's
I
gonna
see
be
Aaron
wild.
in the chat, so look
Shout
for
out
more of us to
shout
come
out
out that
to
way.
the shootout. Yeah,
hmm
indeed.
Yeah, yeah, it's great fun. Great fun. Something a little different. Definitely has a fun. It's always skirmish with a twist, and that twist that goes into it. They think a lot about it. They put a lot of thought into how that goes, and so that is always a really fun event happening out there. Um, right. Yeah. So let's see. What else do we want to poke at here? So a lot of Rebel Troopers, a lot of B1 battle droids. I thought we were going to see a few more Beef twos. Beef twos were really big for a bit there. Like Noah at let's see, that was back at what was that? Was that Tacticon or which
That's
tournament were you?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You took the belt from me, you heartless person, with some pretty savage double stuffed beefy B2 units. So how do you feel that those are going these days?
Yeah, I think B2s are I think the thing is, and I think what are we at? 11 is the average number of activations. I think 14 is the high.
Mm-hmm.
In the bigger metas we're seeing pushing up to 17, 18, higher than that, which, different thoughts on that. But I think that when you're running beef twos, you're really to use them effectively because you need them to get in there uh quickly. You want to run them, and how I was running them was with Grievous, and that really detracts from the ability to run much else. I was running an 8 activation list.
Mm-hmm.
I think the highest we can pump that up is to 9. But I think it came down to two things. Number one, the lower number of activations, and number two, those lists are often when you get down to 8 or 9 activations, it's hard to split really well. And so much of 2.6 revolves around your turn one split. And I think that they're still good. They're still really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that again, there's also the kind of counter meta because I know that last in Tacticon we played a ton of there are a lot of B2s and B2s around, so there's probably been a shift away from that as well, just to try something new and interesting. I do think from a gameplay perspective, lower activations and the tougher ability to split effectively and the higher possibility of getting that wrong are big reasons why. I mean, that's the reason why I kind of stepped off of them because it really felt like it always feels like you're kind of trying to make sure you're doing the split correctly at turn one.
Mm-hmm.
But with 9 activations, that's a lot harder to do, especially your opponent is doing, 10, 12, 14, because they can respond to whatever split you pick really early. And if you don't do it right, you might be hosed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where like they had a lot of success early in 2.6 because we were just kind of like swinging hammers at each other. But now that there's been a little bit more like understanding and development of how to play each of the objectives, right? Kind of like maneuvering around B2s has gotten a lot easier as like we as a community have kind of
Yeah.
like learned what it takes to do that. And I think that alone has like changed the ecosystem enough that they're more of a liability than an asset these days. But like they're still a fantastic unit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're horrifying to look at, but not difficult to play around, which I think at
Yeah.
the end of the day has kind of been led to their demise locally, right? But the pendulum will swing back, right? Eventually, somebody will come back with looking at Drew. He'll come back with the 6
Yeah,
activation. Grievous, right? Like it just
and a
no.
and a snail tank probably.
Yeah, and it's, something.
Yeah.
Probably
Well,
some bugs.
yeah. No, I know when you crushed me so thoroughly at Tacticon, that one we were playing close the pocket and you just like moved onto that center objective and there was absolutely nothing I could do to budge you an inch. But so is it those does the theme like, oh yeah, if you're on close the pocket that can still work, but on other ones where you don't have a nice easy one that you can camp that's worth double points, that split is where you're talking about where you just kind of have to play a wider field.
Yeah, exactly. I think so the game that I lost at Tacticon was to Dustin. Super, super close game, but the biggest thing was it was a breakthrough. So it required the split, and because I was only running Grievous at the time, I didn't have a commander on one side because it's hard to have everything you want in a list like that because you're running two beef twos, like you got to make sacrifices. And there were a couple of AIs that happened that were really, really devastating for what I was attempting to do and in my situation there. So yeah, I think it just comes down to droids. That's the one time AI is going to really affect droids if you're having to split on something like breakthrough. Um, really send yourself out. So I've played around after that with some stuff that uses a super tech as well. Never really felt like it just felt like super tech was a little bit dead weight. It was just there to try to like make sure you don't AI. So something like that where it just feels like to support them effectively, you're having to put suboptimal things in there. To your point, close the pocket is their best objective, and to Gus's point, people also I got handed close the pocket in I think 2 or 3 games that weekend. I would never ever ever have that happen now because I think
Right.
people figured out, yeah, don't ever play close the pocket
Yeah.
against beef twos because they're just gonna sit there and nuke you.
I think at that point I hadn't even like read all of the objectives, so yeah, most of us are
Mhm.
like, that was like the first time a lot of us were playing the new Legion rules. So that was a fun tournament, but it had some chaotic elements there.
Yeah, that's a big part of why I'm so excited for RMO this year is that everybody's
Mhm.
been in the kitchen. Like
Yeah,
everybody's cooking. Everybody's kind of found something they like. Everybody's kind of zeroed in on,
and now
all right,
it's
what have we
time to
learned?
present the dishes.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be awesome.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah, cool. So let's see. What else do we want to talk about? There are okay. Yeah.
How
What
many
are you?
flamers are there? How many like spray attacks?
Well, there are. I'm just looking down the list here. I see there are three ATRT flamethrowers. And somewhere in here, I saw a whole mess of. Let's see, a
Wait, there's
couple. There are a couple of. I think I saw some flamer snowtroopers.
wait,
Only
so
three flamer arties?
yeah, wait, are these rebel players bringing 6 double stuffed rebel troopers and that's it? Like what's happening here? Like
Because the SX
what
13, the SX, the shotgun's 13 points. It's a
what are
bargain.
what are these lists? I
So
need
Oh
to
my
see these
god.
lists.
Yeah, well, see them on Saturday. But yeah, so there are three ATRT flamethrowers. There are also four laser cannon ATRTs. Um, don't know what the mix up there is, if someone's bringing multiples of them, or if it's all just one person went all in on the flamethrowers and a couple of yeah. So we'll get to see about how that's going. But yeah,
I'm
there are
I'm intrigued.
there
I'm
are
intrigued.
a fair
Say it.
amount of flamethrowers, a fair amount of electro whip soldiers. Pike's bringing some electro whips.
I think I know who's responsible for
Man, whip pikes are so good right now.
What do you think particularly makes them good right now?
Well, Naked Core are or not Naked Core, but Core. First of all, Naked Core are really much better than they ever have been. I think Pikes specifically, whip Pikes, because it used to be if you're taking a heavy that didn't have a range dedicated weapon, you're really handicapping yourself most times. Now you can just shoot their regular for Pikes, the one black die at range 3, and it's good. If you're taking, I think it's 80-ish points for a unit if you're taking the whip and um, the capo, and then you're throwing 6 black dice with a surge token. at range 3. But because you're closing the distance so much quicker, at range 1, you're throwing 5 black dice, 2 red dice with immobilize 1. And in melee, you're throwing 10 white, 2 red with a surge token, immobilize 1. And because we're closing the distance to get into melee so often, if you set them up at points, Caleb did this to me um, last week. And he just sat up at points he knew I needed to get to on breakthrough with whip pikes and basically dared me to get in close. And I have to do that to be able to contest those. And he just slaps them. And then they're immobilized, but that pool hurts. So I think it's mainly the changes to cover, number one, and number two, the need to get closer to each other now that makes them so good, as well
Mm.
as just the standard pike stuff with their dodges.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think being able like the push to 1,000 points particularly helped Pikes because they're kind of like
Mm.
a critical mass style unit where in the 800 point format, if you brought 6 whip pikes or whatever it was, that was kind of everything you had. But now they can kind of be your win condition is just kind of like walk forward, get into melee in late game and just keep things off of POIs. And
Lock
I
everything
think it,
down.
yeah, I think it's effective.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, I think Caleb's probably responsible for that. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have always been a huge fan of taking low cost or even naked core troopers and throwing them into force users or other melee threats just to tie them down for a little bit. That can be so very effective. So I can understand why. Yeah. The the looks like a Pike Syndicate with an Electro Whip and a Capo is 72 points. So yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's a steal.
straight bargain. Straight bargain.
Hmm.
Bargain basement. And I mean, you can throw prepared supplies on them too, which is often really good because they just are so hard to kill. But even with that, they're still under 80 points apiece.
Wow, 72 points. That is wild.
Yeah, and the capo obviously is the expensive part of that at 18 points. So the Electro Whip Soldier is very cheap.
I
It's
don't know
hard
how I
these
feel about
days.
that.
I know that I don't have all my Electro soldiers painted, so that's.
Hmm. I have one painted. I painted him really well though, but because I spent a lot of time on that whip. But the other ones is like, okay, I just wanted to paint the one, and I haven't used him on the table since.
Just 5 more to go, man.
Yep, yep, that's true. Um, yeah. So, any other kind of surprises that you're kind of thinking about watching out for, or
I'm curious about bounty hunters.
Mm.
uh, there are a good amount of Mandalorian bounty
Uh,
hunters.
really?
Um,
Okay, okay.
yeah,
Are they
yeah.
more Din than Boba? Because that would be a bet that I would make. Is Din's more common than Boba these days?
For me, I think it's flamethrower tech you want, right? So I
Yep.
think if you can bring Boba, you do, and then if you can't, bring Din, aka if you're a filthy rebel. I guess you can bring Boba. Oh,
the other one.
yeah, the other
Yeah,
Boba.
I see that. I also think though that Grogu, the changes to how he works make him because you're basically paying a little bit extra to bring a 6 wound Mando instead of a 5 wound, and uh yeah, that can be. I know I've seen my share of Bobas just whiff and die in 1 or 2 shots, and it feels
Hmm.
like that 5 to 6 jump and wounds can be huge for his survivability.
Hmm.
Does Grogu cost points as a filthy Imperial? I would not know that.
I think he's 17 still. I know that's what he
Yeah,
launched with. I
yeah. That's what he
think that's where he is
was.
still.
We can check real quick.
It used to be
Load up
if
the
his token
rebel.
dropped, and somebody in chat or someone here correct me if I'm wrong, but if his token dropped on the field if he died, anyone could pick that up as score point.
Right.
But now I believe it's only bounty hunters can do it, which is a huge buff to taking Grogu because it used to be a liability. Now it's just like you kind of pay 70 points for a Mando, extra Mando wound, and then some potential force powers.
Is it an action to do Grogu? I can look
I
at.
think it's free. I'm pretty sure it's free. 'Cause it doesn't
Yeah,
always. Sometimes it just gives you suppression, so it's kind of a.
It's at the end of your activation, so yeah, that's
yeah.
kind of a steal.
hmm
Plus, the
the
end game
the
gives him so much availability or
yeah
ability.
the randomness makes it a little annoying. It's like, wait, no, I wanted to do offensive things, and now you're healing, but I don't have anybody to heal, and so
Dude, the randomness in this game is the worst. Like, I just want to
uh,
roll all
right.
blocks.
I
Like,
just
why can't I do that?
I don't know. Sometimes I just want to like play a game where it's just every roll is statistically average, and then just see how that goes. That'd be nice. But I know some people love the randomness.
See the Groker randomness though, because that's the kind of randomness that I really like. Because there's the floor of guarantee. The guaranteed part is you get another wound on Din, which in and of itself,
hmm
17 points, not too bad for that. And then you have a little randomness on top of that. So that's the kind of randomness that I like is you're paying for the potential, like you're paying for something guaranteed already, and then you pay a few extra points for like a little random thing. He's not entirely random. I think you still kind of staple. You never took him back in the day because he's
Yeah.
just a liability. You staple him now because he turns Din into 6 wounds, and
hmm Yeah.
that's tough
So
to kill.
he is, yeah, so he is still 17 points, but that hunted keyword now, it only does anything if the enemy has a bounty hunter, and so the person with hunted just automatically gains a bounty token. So it's basically gives a bounty hunter an extra bounty token too. So yeah. But if you're not facing a bounty hunter, doesn't do anything.
And
Honestly,
also, it matters
that's
less these
cool.
days.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say.
Now that instead of games being won on what 3-2, 5-4, 5-3, things like that, those kinds of swings, games are it's 12 points. So bounty is it still matters. You can still swing it. I know Gus, you and I
hmm
when we played the teams game. Shout out to Chaos Doubles
Yeah,
on
hyper
Sunday.
doubles,
Everyone
by the
signed
way.
up.
Yeah. But then
But
I mean,
Gus, sorry,
yeah. The nice thing about for the bounty hunters though is that they don't have to survive. As soon as they trigger
that's
it,
true.
they get the thing. Unlike poor R2D2 who now has to sit in the deployment zone for a while and uh they ruined my R2D2.
Gus, if we pair, I'm going to try to take you out just to make sure you come play Chaos Doubles on Sunday.
I mean,
Mhm.
oh no.
Mhm. So,
Don't make me play doubles.
okay, that's something I gotta ask. What is the some of like the wackiest chaos stuff that you have seen so far, Noah? For your if anybody
Oh
watching
man.
doesn't know, the side event on day two is chaos doubles, meaning doubles teams, but also the players got rolled a random seed list, a part of a list that was randomly generated for them based on their faction choice, that they had to flesh out and build upon. So we're gonna see a lot of fun, crazy stuff there.
So I do have an insane story, but I will throw it to Gus first. Do you have anything big from the game that we played testing it out?
I mean, Krennic is the star of the show in doubles, is all I want to say about that. Like, the Annihilation Looms on turn one probably, what, halved their action economy? Like,
Mm-hmm.
roughly, right?
Well, combining that too with Imperial Discipline because of the way those cards are worded, just
Yeah,
huge
and then I
swing.
was gonna say, with the potential for doubles, it's just, it's so exciting.
hmm
So one thing we did to go into a little detail, especially for anyone who's listening, because that's one thing I will also on Sunday explain because there's some card interactions. Because everything triggers at once, and the way the cards are worded, Gus and I turn one played Annihilation Looms because each of you plays a command card. You played Annihilation Looms, I played Imperial Discipline, and so we gave I think orders of 6 or 7 of our units. What happened is all the suppression went out, and then everything recovers and so on our side. And so essentially what
mm
that did is gave a very one-sided, we're chucking suppression on them and ourselves, but we're recovering with about 75% of our army to get it off immediately. Um, the craziest thing in our game, because I played another game a couple of weeks ago, we are using the dangerous environments rules for from AMG, which are basically at the beginning of every round, you roll a red defense die, and depending on what it lands on, a shield, a surge, or a blank, you have a game effect for that round, and you have a couple of token. You have 4 tokens on the field that you two are placed by each team, and they go down. And if you're within range one, typically those tokens they can negate the effects of that card. But one of the effects of the card is if you're not within range one of the token, we roll a surge. You don't get to issue any orders. You can't be issued an order. Well, my partner, and I were playing droids. So first round, we're off the field. We hadn't deployed. No one gets any orders. We're all drawn to the bag. Second round, we roll that again. So we've got these lists that are designed for full order control. They can't get order control, and we just got wrecked because we couldn't
Mm.
pull what we needed to. It was great fun because it was just hilarious that the randomness did that. But we will be using those, and that's just one of those. I think there's 4 difficult or dangerous environment cards. Um, I'll have those provided at the tables. I'll be pairing them to the tables just to give each table a little bit of a flavor. But that's the kind of thing that can happen is it adds to the randomness and just crazy stuff's happening, and the effects can be pretty significant.
Mm.
Yeah, doubles is gonna be the thing to come out for. I think it's genuinely like a more fun format than singles for lots of reasons. So
Mm.
if you guys are gonna come out for RMO, come out for doubles.
Come out for the whole thing.
So
Come out for the
Sunday
whole thing,
doubles.
but especially
Preferably.
doubles.
Hmm.
I,
Yeah.
I will warn everyone that's going to come out on to Windfall on Saturday night. I will be evangelizing doubles to everybody, trying to get everyone signed up. So, yeah, we'll be having a good time. But lists are not due until Saturday night. Really, really Sunday morning. You know, you can kind of it's like Saturday night
Hmm.
midnight, but. Yeah, looking forward to it a lot. This is something that I really push to try to do. So thanks, Steven, for finally listening to me when I kept DMing you about, hey, let me do Chaos Doubles, and very happy to do it. Very excited for it. I think, like Gus said, I think 2.6, because of the way it's structured, is the best doubles has ever been.
Yeah,
Nice.
in an environment where caution is worth as little as it is now in Legion, I think you can get some really fun games with two people at the table.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't played a doubles 2.6. Yeah, that does sound fun. Yeah, last time I
Check it
played,
out.
yeah, last time I played doubles, let's see, that was with Joe at LVO a little while ago. And
Joe is the king of double.
well,
I'll say that.
I I had to work a little bit to keep him on track at that point in the weekend, but it was a lot of fun. It's like, wait, what turn is it? Whose turn? Yeah.
We're gonna miss Joe. He's playing Shatterpoint. He'll be there, but
Hmm.
not coming out for Legion.
Right.
Rest in peace, Joe.
Right. Well, yeah. Unless you guys want to call anything else out, think about it. I think we can close this up.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having us. Come and watch the stream on Saturday
Uh
and
huh.
Sunday, guys.
Yeah, we are starting at 9 a.m. is when the first round one is supposed to start. Saturday, same Twitch channel location. Looking forward to it. And then Sunday
Yeah.
is 9:30 a.m. Yeah.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Thanks,
I'll see.
thanks for hosting us here, Xander. Thanks for streaming the weekend. It's gonna be
Hmm.
great.
Yeah. I was gonna say thanks for doing all the legwork for getting the stream set up. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be cool. It's gonna
Well, this
draw
is
in a lot of viewers. I hope.
this is the first time that we've streamed kind of a 5280 Legion thing. So sounds like I'm very excited to put it together and see how it goes.
I'll see
Right.
everybody there.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you guys at RMO.
Right. See you there. Signing off.